This is a scale -1.5 Mandelbox. And now we look at the section of the Mandelbox called the Apollonian corner. And this is the same section placed on a grid. We take the center of our image as the 0 coordinate in this grid. Now we're gonna give you an idea how this Apollonian corner was created. This is the result of 15 iterations. 15 iterations is satisfactory because the output would not be much different using more iterations. These white circle structures are accumulations of points that do not diverge under the iteration. These points move around during the iteration process, but they never leave a certain radius. All the colored points leave the radius just mentioned and seem to diverge towards infinity. The different colors indicate in which iteration that happened. Every iteration consists of 5 transformations. And now we jump to where the points are located after the 15th iteration step. As we see all the white points jump back to the last iteration, we can observe 2 different behaviors. We have clusters and flakes. The clusters emerge from the white circle structures. The flakes are coming from the border area of the circle structures and exhibit a chaotic behavior. This behavior reflects on the chaotic or fractal property of the circle structure's borders. This behavior reflects on the chaotic or fractal property of the circle structure's borders. Now we see all the clusters gather in a wing shape. This is like a strange attractor, because if a point falls into this area, he never again leaves it. Within this area, eventually every point reaches every location. Though, let's not focus on the strange attractors. How did the process of 15 iterations create this? For that, we start from the beginning. Now, the coordinate center represents the 0 location. It is the center of the whole Mandelbox, not just of the Apollonian corner. Every point is starting from the 0 location, because the Mandelbrot method is applied. This is why the grid is still empty. Although the grid is 3-dimensional, everything will happen on the plane. We use the perspective for a wider and more spectacular view. Every movement you see on the z-axis only represents movement distance on the plane. The grid is divided into squares of size 1 and concentric circles. We have marked 3 circles. The inner and smallest circle is a unit circle. This is where most of the action takes place. The radius 4 circle is just for orientation, and the biggest circle with radius 6 is a bailout radius. Points leaving this radius are considered divergent. They are the ones we have seen marked in colors before. The first iteration has 0 for its initial values, for every point. And now, the last transformation, the addition takes place. Finally, the points become observable. Though the only points we visualize are the ones from the Apollonian corner, this little square. With the second iteration, the square is folded to the center. But let's forward a little bit. Here, the transformation box fold becomes nicely visible for the first time. The plane is folded twice, just like a letter, but on both axes, one after another. And now the circle inversion is perfectly visible, moving the points above 0.5 and lower 1 to the space between 1 and 2. Astonishingly, this forms a very clear circle, even though the points are not evenly distributed. And the points with a distance lower than 0.5 become scaled by a factor 2. After that, a scaling of negative 1.5 is performed. A scaling with a negative value is actually a rotation by 180 degrees, and a scaling of 1.5 increases the radius from 2 to 3. The addition adds a different value to every point. The difference in the values is not really observable because we look at such a tiny region. Therefore, the differences are too small for us to see. We see the points move the distance of square root 8 because the region that we examine is located at roughly distance 2 from each axis. This will continue on every iteration. Because the values for each point differ slightly, the output becomes more and more chaotic. And the big effect of the small difference can be seen. This is typical for chaotic processes. After this, the bailout test is performed, but no point lays outside the bailout radius, and we just start over with the next iterations. And now, for the first time, points leave our bailout radius, and we mark the points with the current iteration depth color, and they start to form the image. And the circle inversion is performed again. The scaling of negative 1.5 is performed. The folding operation on both axes is performed again. The addition is performed, as we know, with a different value for each point, though it looks like it would be the same value. The bailout operation marks the points outside the bailout radius with the current iteration color. The color of the first iterations are different shades of blue, moving to orange later on. The scaling of negative 1.5 is performed. the folding operation on both axes. The addition is performed, as we know, with a different value for each point, though it looks like it would be the same value. And the circle inversion is performed again. The folding operation on both axes. And again, more points fall into the wing-shaped safe zone. And the circle inversion is performed again. The scaling of -1.5 is performed. The folding operation on both axes is performed again. That's it for the Apollonian corner. I hope you gained some knowledge, and I thank Martini Tyron for his beautiful music, and take a look at his YouTube channel that is linked below in the description. See you next time when we examine another variant of the Mandelbox scale 2, scale -2 and scale -1.5 from the full view. See you next time.